Hey there, everyone. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the next session for Global Partnership Day. I'm Sean Saul, co-founder and SVP of Sales at PartnerEyes, and I'm excited today to be joined by April Roberts and Phil Twigg from MandM Direct as we discuss the approach MandM Direct has taken to garner exceptional results from the partner channel. April, Phil, before we kick things off in the session, I'm going to pass over to you to give our audience a bit more background on your experience and roles at MandM Direct.
Perfect. So I'm April. I am the partnerships manager at MandM Direct. So I look after all types of partnerships from affiliates, influencers, B2B, and our card payment providers too. So my experience has been quite varied within the events industry and marketing, and that's when I found myself at MandM and sort of discovered the partnership world.
Hello, and I'm Phil. So I have 15 years experience within the digital marketing sector. Much of that time has been spent at MandM, certainly the last 5 years, and I had a stint before then as well. So now I am head of acquisition and responsible for all of our paid touch points. So that's predominantly work we do across Google, Facebook, and PartnerEyes as well.
Perfect. Thank you both. We're in for some good answers to the questions, I'm sure, based off that experience. And with that, I'll jump in with our first one. I guess the first question really needs to be a sense check on how MandM Direct has fared during the past 18 months. As an online business, you'd expect that sales might be up. There's also a lot of factors which can affect that, competition and consumer behaviour. It'd be great to understand the general performance of MandM Direct during the pandemic.
Yeah, sure. I suppose, well, where to start with the last 18 months? It feels like an absolute lifetime ago. I think the first thing to say actually is that in February last year, we actually flooded both of our warehouse and our head office flooded as well. We're based in rural Herefordshire, and we had quite a bit of rainfall through that month. And that caused, as you can imagine, numerous problems for the office staff, first and foremost, having to then disperse and work from home. Seems crazy, but that was something that we were doing in February last year. And then, of course, the warehouse as well had a huge amount of work to become operational again. So the warehouse was operational within about a week, but for the office staff, they were actually home working right through from before when the flood hit, and then through obviously for COVID as well. So we were kind of fairly used to home working and the idea of home working even before COVID had really struck and taken hold. In terms of the business though, through that period, we obviously had this initial kind of drop in demand for clothing and fashion, certainly with the early part of the COVID lockdown number one, I should say. And then, people buying toilet rolls and things. And then once people are, at home and stuck at home, and also that there's the security then of the furlough scheme as well, I think was influential. Then the demand for loungewear, I think, was kind of the buzzword that we were using at the time. That demand then really starts to ramp up. And because we are a pure play retailer, it was a really kind of valuable time for us to be able to drive new customers, because so many of our competitors were struggling in that area because of the offline elements. So the likes of TK Maxx, Next, were obviously having to not deliver orders, and ASOS were having difficulties with lead times as well. Even ASOS, the pure play. So there was quite a lot of demand in the market, and initially, at least, we had to kind of make a lot of changes, particularly in the warehouse, in order to be able to service that demand. And once that was in place, we were able to then really kind of capitalize upon that. And we talked through that 2020 as the kind of COVID cohorts, that kind of customer who was kind of used to shopping offline and then suddenly becomes an online shopper. And so much of the last 12 months or 6 months has been more about retaining those customers, as well as driving new customer growth as well.
Great answer. Thank you, Phil. And I can definitely vouch for loungewear. I don't think anything that was other than an elasticated waist was worn by myself for at least 10 months. So yeah, definitely agree there. Has your focus changed in terms of products and brands that you're seeing performing well? As a reseller, you see more brands or new brands coming to you to move surplus stock, given that the bricks and mortar places were closed. Was there more of that happening?
Yes, there was an element of that. I suppose there's been more of a shift through this period in terms of styles rather than brands necessarily. We haven't really seen the material shift in brands particularly. It's more about the kind of clothing styles that has changed dramatically, I suppose. We talk about hoodies, tees, that kind of loungewear style, rather than the kind of general push on jeans, for example, or even dresses. Actually, we saw a slight deterioration there. So it's more kind of micro shifts within clothing as a whole, rather than a seismic shift of brand, for example.
Gotcha. And then, what metrics are important when you're choosing which partners to work with? Then, what do you look at to evaluate a partner or a new partnership campaign?
It varies really. I mean, recently, obviously, we've linked with quite a lot of card link partners, which has been brilliant. But it's just sort of trying to make sure that you're diversifying, I guess, across all partners, and you've got a good partnership mix. We definitely look, so we don't offer vouchers, so we obviously have to make sure that the partners are right for us in that sort of way, because we don't want them to be pushing stuff that isn't relevant to the brand. But really just any partners that are willing to try new things with us, I think, is really important at the moment. We're quite open and flexible to looking at non-traditional affiliate sort of relationships and new partners within the industry. And Partnerize have been great in helping us do that. So introducing us to loads of new partners that we wouldn't have necessarily had the introductions to before we worked with Partnerize, and we've just seen great growth from that.
I mean, from our perspective, you're probably one of our most successful clients when it comes to having and ensuring that you've got a really diverse partner mix. So it would be great to understand, when it comes to these new types of partners that you've been testing, where have you seen the successes and where have you seen the challenges?
So definitely within the CLO partners, the card-linked partners, we've seen a great success with that. So our first card-linked partner was Airtime Rewards, and we partnered with them back in 2019. And for us, that was completely new. We'd never really worked with a card-linked partner before. And the results were incredible just from the offset, really. And then we've just been introduced to more and more throughout sort of the years from there. Our recent one being Reward Insight, who have been perfect partner for us. We've seen such a huge amount of growth from partnering with them that I guess our focus now is card link partners and how we develop that, but also how we work with Partnerize and the card link partners to make sure that it's really seamless for everybody. It's a very new partnership for quite a lot of brands. So it isn't a traditional there's no traditional way of validating. Although you get more data in terms of customer data, you don't necessarily get the SKU level data, which I think some brands struggle with, whereas for us, we've just sort of made it work. And we've worked really closely with the Partnerize product team and our data team to make sure that we're sort of passing as much data as we can to understand the partnership and make sure that it's sort of costing in and it's really valuable to us, which it definitely is. But there's loads more work to go, but I would definitely recommend brands just giving it a go, because we've seen so much success and growth from just a handful of card link partners that you wouldn't get with sort of traditional affiliate relationships.
Perfect. And I guess then from that, if I was a partner in the audience now listening to this, and I was thinking of signing up for your program, what will you be looking for?
Just something new. I think at the moment there's so much going on within the affiliate industry that anything that we can try that's new and sort of out there, we're really willing to give it a go. But I think our next focus, I think Phil will probably agree, is B2B relationships and partnerships and how we develop from there really. So any new partners that are looking for B2B stuff or can help us with that, then get in contact, because we're really open to that sort of partnership, and anything that's sort of out of the ordinary that we can test and trial.
Perfect.
I think April's mentioned that the testing there is the crucial element to it really. We work on a test and learn approach. If something works really well for us, then we're prepared to invest time in it.
Absolutely, yeah. We see that kind of approach across a lot of our enterprise clients, and I think it's the best way forward, to be honest. And you've constantly got to test just to see if it's going to work. So, yeah, 100% agree with you there. What about mobile, guys? How are you kind of using mobile currently?
Mobile is kind of our key device, I suppose. So everything we do is geared towards mobile. We don't have an app, so we're kind of out of that space at the moment. But yeah, everything we do is kind of measured on mobile, really.
Perfect. And obviously, April just talking there about B2B partnerships. Have MandM Direct actually started any of them yet? Have you kind of approached anyone about that? Any successes or struggles around that piece?
Yeah, I think so. We actually started this, God, Phil, can you remember? Like a couple of years ago now, really.
2019, was it?
Yeah, I think when the first sort of discussions of how important B2B relationships would be within the affiliate industry, we were trying to give it a go with sort of travel brands and stuff like that. And we've trialed a few things, but we haven't seen a major success in it so far. But then we haven't really put a huge amount of time into it, just because our focus has been elsewhere. Therefore, we're going to try it again this year, and I think there will be a lot more focus on it this year than there has been previously. I think we sort of had to put a pause on it last year because of COVID, and I think brands were just trying to focus on what they could do rather than starting anything new. But for us, I think it makes so much sense to partner with other brands and work out sort of who is going to be the best brand for us. So I think travel's really good for us, but it's just finding the right partner within the travel industry that's willing to sort of invest the time into making sure the partnership will work, and the ideas of what's different within the industry that other people aren't doing yet.
Yeah, I think certainly within the travel space there was so much disruption, and there was a fair amount of consolidation within the retail space as well, the early part of last year. And I think we were having conversations with travel partners towards the end of 2019, and so once we got our peak out of the way and travel's peak as well, which is kind of early January, it then didn't give us much time between then and COVID and the rumblings of that. So yeah, as April says, it's the sort of thing we can pick up towards the end of this year potentially, but yeah, it's kind of been a period of consolidation, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I think brands sharing each other's customers is the kind of next leap forward, this kind of channel, I think. Do you feel like partnerships is getting more attention at MandM Direct, especially given how some brands have had to readjust their marketing activity under kind of greater budget scrutiny? Are you seeing it being able to command more respect as a primary marketing channel for yourselves, given the kind of successes and growth you're having? Yeah,
definitely. I think historically for us, it's always been a kind of a retention-based channel, but I think a lot of the work that April has done has kind of shifted that or kind of broadened towards both new and returning, in which case then it becomes a kind of full funnel marketing channel rather than just one particular area of focus. So yeah, I think there's a lot more kind of resource going into the partnerships channel for us, and yeah, we anticipate it growing again this year.
Perfect. And does the partner channel give you a competitive advantage, do you think? I mean, are you able to glean any insights from your campaigns to help you plan future activity and maybe wider activity outside the realm of partnerships?
Yeah, I think probably now more than ever, I think we are possibly using the data that we can receive from like the card link partners. It's really interesting data and stuff that you don't necessarily get from other like traditional affiliates. You don't get that sort of level of data. So I think the more we can utilize that across different channels, the better, really. I think we've never delved into that enough, but now that we've got more data, I think we can definitely use it across other channels.
Good. Perfect. Yeah, we see a lot, especially with CRM teams as well. It tends to overlap quite a bit as well. How about you then, I guess as a team, like how does your team fit into the wider org's goals, if you like, and how do you go about structuring a partnership team? Like what are the resources you should have in place?
Well, it's really, so our team's is growing very quickly, but really it's just been me and Phil for quite a few years. So we have an exec on the team now, which has been a great help. And we're going to have to recruit probably another 2 people by the end of the year, just because of the way the team is growing, which is great. As everything is in-house now, we only work with Partnerize. We just need those extra pairs of hands just to pick up all of the new partners that are coming on board and our internationals. So I think the partnerships team across every brand is always sort of a smaller team. But I think that is going to change within the next couple of years across all types of brands, just because it's such a growing industry and it's changing every day. So I think there's going to be a lot more focus on the structure of a partnerships team and how many you need on the team to cope with the level of volume, really.
What has been kind of useful, and so something that particularly that Partnerize have helped us with, is automation. I mean, certainly within the digital team at MandM, it's very much we gear everything towards automation in across every channel, and much of the kind of heavy lifting in terms of validations and things like that now is automated, and it then frees up April's team to be able to then have communications with B2B partners or new affiliate partners.
Makes perfect sense. And what tools are you finding most helpful when deploying your partner marketing activity?
Well, to be honest, mainly Partnerize. We sort of, I just feel like I'm saying it a lot, but we have consolidated a lot of our partnership sort of tools to make sure that we're just using the right ones, really. We have a great relationship with Partnerize and the partnership team within Partnerize. So I speak to Dave all the time about new partners, and also Callum. So really, obviously we use Partnerize, but then we work really closely with our own data team to make sure that all of the automation is running and how we get all of that data into, our Looker and BigQuery to make sure that it's across the business. So between Partnerize and everything that the data team are doing, those are sort of the main tools that we use to sort of manage all of our partnerships.
Great, and then maybe a bit of future gazing. How do you think the partnerships and kind of performance marketing channels are going to evolve over the next few years?
It's hard to put your finger on it, really, because I think since I joined the partnerships team at MandM, my role and the industry has changed so much, and it's constantly evolving. I do think there is a lot to say about card linking partners and how that's going to change the affiliate industry. I feel there's definitely a change already with what they're bringing. And it's just how I think traditional affiliates fit around the new card linking offer, because it is such a simple partnership. There's not much integration that needs to be done, and the data is so much stronger than what you would get from a traditional affiliate relationship. So it'll be interesting to see how traditional affiliates diversify themselves against that, to make sure that they're not losing out on anything. But yeah, it's really hard to say. I don't know, Phil, if you've got anything to sort of add on that and how you think it's going to change.
Yeah, I can only really echo April's points, to be honest. I think it's just about how traditional based affiliates respond, really. That's the interesting question mark, I think, over the next year or so.
Good, perfect answer. And what advice would you give? Feedback. What advice would you give other online businesses looking to expand their partnership efforts?
The main one for me would be take the risk. I think between me and Phil, we're very used to taking risks and just sort of going with it. Most of the time it's successful, but everybody has times where it's not. It is just taking that risk and really putting yourself out there for the new sort of partnerships that are coming along. I think it's important not to become stagnant in the industry and just stick to what you know, because otherwise you're not going to grow the partnerships at all, really. It's just going to keep, you might see like a year-on-year steady growth, but for us, it's all about growing the partnerships team as much as we can and the channel as much as we can. So if that means taking quite big risks on new partners and sort of developing that, then that's just what we're going to do. It's, you know, for us as well, it's not just the affiliate side of things, we manage the influencer side of things, and that is also, I think, definitely feeding into the partnerships and how you develop that. And, you know, with influencers, they have invested customers and following, so trying to understand that relationship between the influencer and their followers and how you can like delve into that is really important too. So just take all the risks that you can. We're very lucky, me and Phil, that we work for M&M, and you know, we're allowed to do that and we're open to that. I know some brands might not be able to, but really push for the partnerships channel and what it can bring you, because we've seen such a huge amount of growth within the past 3 years that, you know, where are we going to be in the next 3 years will be really interesting to see.
Absolutely. No, that's brilliant. So I think if I could kind of summarize it, it's around embrace, test and learn. Embrace new partnership models, and don't be afraid of a bit of risk. You know, only by a little bit of risk, maybe you're going to grow. Secret sauce is the data. You need the data in order to kind of, I guess, get the business to buy in and justify those test and learns and more investment into the channel. And then, you know, I guess the whole automation piece, like your MandM Direct as a business, is very much geared towards driving more and more automation. And you know, if you can scale up those new partner types, but in an automated way, then it's only going to be a kind of win-win situation from that perspective. So, yeah. Anything else to add before maybe wrapping up?
Nope. Nothing else from me.
Perfect. Then I would just like to say a massive thank you, April and Phil, for joining, and we appreciate you sharing your experiences and insights with us today. It's been great hearing about the M&M program in more detail, and I'm sure the audiences will have learned a lot that they can apply to their own programs. So all that leaves me to say, so thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next sessions coming up. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you, Sean.
Pleasure.
Thank you.